There's a peculiar stillness that envelops a home after a tempest has passed. It's not tranquility, not quite. It's the hush of a gale that's finally spent its fury, leaving you to assess the wreckage. In my situation, the tempest was my partner of 4 years, Emily, and the wreckage was the future I believed we were constructing. But as I reflect now, I've come to a vital realization. The storm didn't shatter my bedrock. It merely swept away a structure that was already decaying at its core. Let me clarify, I'm not a man easily deceived. I'm a data engineer. My career revolves around detecting patterns, foreseeing issues, and recognizing how one minor shift can collapse an entire system. I applied that same reasoning to my personal life, which is why I never related to men grumbling about their partners neglecting them or draining their finances. My bond with Emily was built on what I thought was a sturdy framework, shared aspirations, and mutual commitment. When we met, she was sharp, driven, and had a clear vision for the next 5 years. We were a partnership. We agreed to pool our resources to save for a home. It was a collaborative effort. I earned more, so I contributed a larger share to our joint savings, but she chipped in too. Every choice was a discussion. We were laying the foundation together, step by step, and I admired her for it. I cared for her deeply. Her closest friend, a guy named Lucas, was the one element I could never fully predict. He was the type who always seemed on the cusp of a big break. He wore pricey outfits he couldn't afford, drove a leased car he was perpetually late on, and carried himself with the smug assurance of someone who's never faced real repercussions. He was always around, tossing out unsolicited opinions, making subtle jabs at me that were just vague enough to brush off. Emily always stood up for him. "He's like family to me," she'd say. "He just doesn't have the steady ground you do, James." That stability she spoke of was me. I was the anchor, and last Monday she decided to test just how much I could hold. She came home from work with an odd vibe, a blend of anxiety and forced enthusiasm. She sat me down on the sofa we'd spent weeks choosing together. Then she dropped the news. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a proclamation. "I've got fantastic news," she began, her tone overly cheerful. "Lucas's roommate is leaving at the end of the month. I'm going to move in." I just looked at her, waiting for the twist. There wasn't one. She hurried to explain, her words tripping over themselves. "Think about it, James. It's purely practical. His rent is so much lower than my share of expenses here. I could save an extra $1,000 a month. We'd reach our house goals so much sooner. It's the ideal plan." I let the quiet linger. She wanted a reaction, an argument where she could paint me as possessive or insecure. I wouldn't give her that. I ran countless scenarios in my mind, weighed every factor, and saw the one flawless move forward. I smiled, a calm, sincere smile. "Emily," I said, my voice steady, "that's a brilliant idea." Her face was a picture of shock. The triumphant, ready-for-a-fight look dissolved into confusion. This wasn't part of her plan. "It is," she faltered. "Absolutely," I said, leaning back. "It's a smart choice, sacrificing a bit now for a bigger reward later. That's the kind of thinking I admire in you." Now she was thrown off. She'd braced for a storm, but I gave her a clear, bright day. She spent the evening chattering about how much she'd saved for our house fund, how great living with Lucas would be, and how mature we were being. I nodded, offering supportive remarks. I was the perfect, understanding partner. Later that night, as she scrolled through apartment listings with Lucas on the phone, laughing and planning, I waited. I let her finish. I let her revel in her apparent triumph. Then I walked into the living room and sat across from her. "I've been thinking about what you said," I began, my tone measured and thoughtful. "And you've inspired me. Since you're making this big step to boost our savings, I think it's only fair I do the same." She looked wary now. "What do you mean?" "Well," I said, leaning forward, "I've had an offer on the table for a few weeks. A major project at our company's European office. It's a 2-year deal. The salary is incredible, with a huge bonus at the end. I was going to decline because I didn't want to leave you or our plans. But now, with you moving to save money, it makes perfect sense. I can store my things, live frugally there, and put my entire paycheck plus the bonus toward our goal. When I return, we'll have enough to buy our dream home outright." Her jaw dropped. I saw panic creeping into her eyes. You took a job in Europe." "I accepted it this evening," I said, lying as smoothly as ever. "They're sending the contract tomorrow. The project starts in 3 weeks. Oh, and I'm ending the lease on this apartment at the end of the month. The timing's perfect, isn't it?" Her face paled. "You ended the lease, but where will I stay when I visit?" "Visit? Emily, the point is to save money. Flights from Europe aren't cheap. We need to be disciplined, both of us. This is what you wanted, a practical financial move. Then I landed the final strike. And since we'll be handling our finances separately for the next 2 years, we should divide our shared assets now. It's the logical step. I've already made a spreadsheet of our joint savings, furniture, everything we've built. We need to sort out who gets what. She stared, speechless. Her brilliant scheme with Lucas, to live with him while keeping me as her financial safety net, had just been obliterated. She thought she was making a simple play. She didn't realize she'd triggered a catastrophic failure. She started packing that night, but not with excitement. She packed in tears. It's reassuring to know that clear, rational thinking still holds value in a chaotic world. The next day was a lesson in backpedaling. Emily woke with swollen eyes and tried to undo her plan. "I wasn't thinking straight," she said, forcing a laugh. "Moving in with Lucas is a foolish idea. I don't want to do it, and you shouldn't go to Europe. We're stronger together." I shook my head, my face full of regret. "I can't, Emily. I've already signed the contract. If I back out now, I'll be blacklisted at my firm. My career would be ruined. You know I can't risk that." I hadn't signed anything. The contract was a PDF I'd crafted over 2 hours, complete with a professional-looking letterhead I pulled from my company's site. But she didn't know that. "Besides," I continued, using her own reasoning, "you were right. This is a smart financial move. We have to focus on the future. A couple of years apart is a small price for long-term security." Every counter-argument she raised, I deflected with her own logic. She wanted to save money, this was the best way. She wanted the house sooner, this would make it happen. She'd set the trap, and I was simply holding the door open. Dividing our assets was brutal for her. Our joint savings account was about 90% my contributions. When I transferred her share, the exact amount she'd put in, her shock was palpable. "But what about the interest?" she asked, her voice shaking. "That's divided based on our initial deposits," I said calmly, as if it were obvious. The furniture was another fight. She pointed at the sofa, the dining table, the TV. "We can sell these and split the cash," she said. I pulled out another spreadsheet, this one with receipts. "I bought the sofa and TV before we met," I explained. "The dining table was my gift when we moved in. They're not shared assets." By the end, she was left with her clothes, some kitchen items, and a small sum of money. The life she'd taken for granted was almost entirely funded by me. She moved in with Lucas a week ago. For the first few days, my phone was silent. I think she was trying to project confidence, posting pictures with Lucas on social media, sipping wine in their new place with captions like "fresh starts" and "excited for what's next." Then the calls began. First, it was the car. The car she drove was in my name, and I paid the insurance. I told her that since I was moving to Europe, I was selling it and canceling the policy. She'd need to arrange her own transport. Her panic was raw. "How am I supposed to get to work? James, you can't do this." "It's a financial decision, Emily," I said sympathetically. "I can't afford a car I won't use for 2 years. Next was the phone bill. She was on my plan. I informed her she'd be removed at the end of the cycle. Then the streaming accounts, the gym membership, all the small financial ties to my income. I severed them one by one. Lucas, predictably, was a disaster. His texts started cocky. "Man, you blew it. Emily's incredible. Your loss." I didn't respond. Then they turned irritable. "Hey, Emily's short on rent. Send her some cash. Don't be a jerk." I didn't respond. His latest, sent late last night, was pure desperation. "James, call me. The landlord's threatening to kick us out. Emily's crying nonstop. You caused this. Fix it." They genuinely believe this is my fault, that I'm obligated to clean up their mess. Their arrogance is only matched by their foolishness. They thought they could outwit a data engineer. They didn't realize I don't just see the system, I know how to dismantle it. I haven't moved to Europe. I'm in a new apartment across town. It's smaller, but it's mine. The lease on our old place ends this week. Emily and Lucas think I'm packing for an overseas flight. In reality, I'm unpacking boxes in my new, quiet life. They don't know where I am. They think I'm thousands of miles away, not just across the city, watching their shoddy plan fall apart. And the best part? I'm only getting started. Update 2 asterisk, it's been a month, and the initial shock has faded. I'm now watching the ripples of their collapse. The fallout has been more dramatic than I expected. My goal was to exit cleanly and let their bad decisions undo them. But when you build your life on deception, the crash is spectacular. After a week of increasingly frantic texts from Lucas, I got a call from an unfamiliar number, Emily's mother. I'd always had a polite relationship with her parents. I thought they were good people. I was mistaken. Her mother didn't bother with niceties. She unleashed a tirade, accusing me of abandoning her daughter, leaving her broke and stranded. She called me cold and ruthless. I let her finish. When she paused, I spoke calmly. With all due respect, Emily chose to move in with another man for her own financial reasons. I've simply made some financial choices of my own. She's your partner, she shouted. You have a duty to support her. Actually, I replied, I don't think she's my partner anymore. I'd ask Emily about her duties to me and our shared goals before you lecture me on mine. That call kicked off a new tactic, the guilt and shame campaign. Suddenly, mutual friends started contacting me, fed a skewed version of events where I'd had a breakdown, turned controlling, and punished Emily for being practical. I'd anticipated this. Months ago, when I first suspected Emily and Lucas, I began my real work. As a data engineer, I analyzed patterns. I'd installed network monitoring tools, not to read her messages, but to track data flows. Her late-night data spikes on her phone and laptop were tied to social media and messaging apps, not work. I also noticed our joint account was used for pricey grocery items, fine wines, premium cuts of meat, that never appeared in our home. The final clue came from a background check on Lucas. His financial situation was dire, 2 evictions, unpaid debts. His landlord was a private owner, not a corporation, someone likely to act fast against a deadbeat tenant. I compiled everything, data logs, grocery receipts, Lucas's public records, my safety net. When the first friend called to scold me, I didn't argue. You've only heard one side, I said. I'll send you some context. I sent a link to a secure web page I'd created, laying out the timeline with evidence. Screenshots of grocery orders, Lucas's financial history, and the clincher, audio from our home security system, recorded when it was armed or disarmed. The recordings captured Emily and Lucas planning for months, not just to save money, but to use my income to fund Lucas's lifestyle while he launched his business. They mocked my trust, calling me their long-term investment. I sent this link to every friend who contacted me. The calls stopped. Their smear campaign collapsed. I didn't just counter her story, I erased it with facts. The best moment was a call from Emily's father. His pride was evident, but so was his shame. He'd seen the evidence. He didn't raise his voice. I'd like to pick up Emily's remaining things from your new place, he said. He'd somehow gotten my address. It didn't matter. I told him I'd leave her boxes at the building's loading dock on a specific day. He agreed, then asked, the car, she needs it for work. Can she take over the payments? The car's sold, I said, lying again. It was parked in my new garage. It was a practical financial choice. The silence was my triumph. He knew he had no leverage. He knew his daughter had been caught in a greedy, foolish scheme. Emily and Lucas are now facing the consequences. Their landlord, who may have received an anonymous tip about his tenant's financial troubles and his new roommate's shaky income, has begun eviction proceedings. Emily lost her job. Her small firm, where reputation is critical, let her go after whispers of her scheme spread, likely from a mutual friend in the industry. They're stuck in an apartment they can't afford with no allies left. They thought they were brilliant. They were amateurs who chose the wrong target. They tried to game a system without realizing I'm the one who designs the systems, and I always include a safeguard. Final update ***. 6 months have passed since my old life ended and my new one began. The chaos has settled. The silence from their side is total. The story is done and I can say I won, not just a skirmish, but the entire conflict without ever raising my voice. The eviction went through. Emily and Lucas were forced out. A former friend told me they were left on the curb, surrounded by boxes they couldn't afford to move. Lucas, as expected, crumbled under pressure, blaming Emily for dragging him into her mess. Their family-like bond dissolved when the money dried up. He moved back to his parents' house, a 30-year-old defeated by his own hubris. Emily's fall was steeper. After losing her job and apartment, she had to move back with her parents. But their home wasn't the warm refuge she hoped for. Her father, who prized reputation, was humiliated by the evidence I'd shared. They're giving her a place to stay, but the warmth is gone. She's a stain on their family name. Word is she's struggling to find work in her tight-knit industry, where her scheme's fallout has made her untouchable. The final, most satisfying moment came 2 months ago. I received a legal letter from Emily's attorney, a desperate attempt to claim a financial settlement from our 4-year relationship, citing emotional distress and implied partnerships. My lawyer, a sharp professional, was ready. We didn't just respond. We filed a counterclaim for conspiracy to commit fraud, backed by audio recordings, financial records, Lucas's texts, and an affidavit from their former landlord. The lawsuit wasn't about money. It was about making a point. Emily's lawyer dropped her within a week. With no funds for another attorney, she signed a settlement renouncing all claims against me and agreeing to a non-disclosure agreement, barring her from ever discussing me or our relationship. My protection was now legally binding. I've walked away with everything. My finances are solid. My career is soaring. My new apartment feels like home. I've learned a hard but valuable lesson about trust and verifying information, even in personal matters. The Europe job was a fabrication, a calculated move to force her hand. I never planned to leave. Why would I? I had the best view of the most satisfying system failure I've ever seen. They thought they were clever, seeing me as a predictable, exploitable asset. They didn't realize the most stable systems are the most intricate, and the quietest parts control everything. They wanted a chess game, but they were up against a master who'd anticipated every move. They didn't just lose, they were dismantled. My life is now quieter, cleaner, and better for it. The storm has passed. The silence left behind is peace.